welcome back to the Star Wars Expanded Universe, narrated by Disney, or a current Lucasfilm, whichever way you slice it. Legends. Today I have for you Riptide by Paul S. Kemp, the sequel to Cross Current, also by Paul S. Kemp, following Jaden Core and the adventures that he goes on. Sorry about that. Anyway. But yes, so it's written in a way to where you technically don't have to read the last one, but you should probably just read the last one. We have Jaden Core from, of course, the Jedi Academy games and the last novel we read. We have Mar, the Conehead, Kyoto Mundi looking guy who's now Jaden's apprentice. We have Kedron, who's just a really cool non-force user. We have the clones that we're following, who escaped from the cloning facility in the last one. We have a new sort of assassin character that kind of just replaces the Anzadi, but isn't creepy like the Anzadi, so it's kind of like, why? But he's also working for the one Sith. He has an interesting force power, though. He's kind of like the Lisi Amari, and harkens back to the Vong, where, because I believe he's in the Force, though, so it's weird, because when he's using his power, other people just can't use theirs, or it's dampened. It's very weird. But anyway, I'll be right back. But yes, so that's what's going on with him. Some super cool unknown region stuff near the end. I don't think it's related to a character we'll meet in Fate of the Jedi, but regardless, it's still creepy and interesting, as the unknown regions tends to be. I don't think there is much more I can say non-spoiler-wise, but overall, it was a fun read. Certainly, I did not enjoy it as much as I enjoyed Cross Current. I think I was checking the clock a bit more with Cross Current, or with this one, checking the pages I was on, because I was like, is it... Oh, I was kind of hoping it would end sooner. Not that it was bad, I was not enjoying myself as much. So I'll say that much. It's an okay book. It's not great or anything. It's fine. I haven't really read too many bad Star Wars books. Even the ones I don't like Allegiance and Choices of One, aren't bad. I just find them boring. And doing unnecessary things like having Mara Jade almost seeing Luke. We already know that she can't, so why even do that? It's stupid. Anyway, go watch my review of Allegiance and Choices of One if you want to know my opinions on those books. That's my gold standard of a bad Star Wars book so far. And so far, nothing has surpassed those in terms of bad, so we'll see in the future with that. But that's like my grading criteria. Is it as bad as these books? That's how I grade it. Anyway. Spoiler time. So if you don't want spoilers, time to get out. As for the main plot, spoiler-wise, in summary fashion, it was interesting to have the question of, like, how much influences you, biology or whatever. I think it's a bit on the nose. I mean, I believe in free will. I think it's a really obvious question for me. I think it's an obvious answer because I believe in God. Though, of course, then you have Calvinists and everything, so there's a whole bunch of stuff of that. But the whole question of the book, I just kind of found whatever, because I found it an arbitrary one, because I think it's pretty clear. But I enjoyed the soldier character who ends up being Jaden Core's clone. Or is he a clone? Or are they both clones? Was there ever an original? Blah, blah, blah. I don't know. They had those questions too at the end, which is a bit weird. My favorite part of the book, most definitely, was whenever the one Sith is getting, slightly mentioned, because we're ramping up to Fate of the Jedi and Legacy, or we'll see more of them. And then that entire section in the Unknown Regions, which it's another reason why I love the Unknown Regions, because Abeloth, of course, is going to be one of the big points of Fate of the Jedi. I know that much. The Lovecraftian type villain that is just super powerful and super ununderstandable and crazy and powerful. But the Unknown Regions is filled with scary stuff. It would be cool. Disney wouldn't do it. But I'd be down with seeing a rated R or even a PG-13, just short stories, kind of like Twilight Zone, just focused on people. And that's the best part too, because these aren't main characters or anything. So some of them might make it out of the situation, others might die. Who knows? But because I don't completely hate Disney, like I think Mandalorian's fine, Rogue One's fine, but I'd rather read Legends. As the rest of it, I don't care for at all. But like Rebels is, there's like a few gems in the poop, but most of it is poop, in my opinion. But a show centered around the Unknown Regions and the scary stuff that comes from it, and the disturbing, creepy stuff that comes from all those corners, because that's the thing about the Unknown Regions, so much of it is unexplored, and that is something about us, we're more scared of the fear of the unknown, because once you have it explained to you, it's not as scary. But when you don't understand something, that's where the fear comes in. So I've always liked that whenever we explore the Unknown Regions. But yeah, there's just a lot of action stuff going on, so I just don't feel like there's as much to analyze. I have my notes, but I'm just trying to do a summary beforehand. Overall, it was fine. I am definitely ready to move on to the next series, though. Of course, we still have Millennium Falcon to go through, but the other one hooked me the whole way through. I really enjoyed it. This one, I was kind of ready for it to move on, but that's pretty much it. Yeah, so I'm gonna get into my couple of notes. I don't have too many. It's one of my shorter ones. So something that I didn't know that they mentioned in this book, Jaden's uncle, who had realized that he was Force sensitive, and you start out the Jedi Academy game just heading there, like you don't know anything beforehand. You're going to Luke's Jedi Academy, but you find out that his uncle had found out he's Force sensitive and said he should go. But here we learn that his uncle had been killed in the Vong War. And that's another thing I love about the entire New Jedi Order series, is that everything afterwards is affected by it. Every side character, every small character, everyone's been affected by this huge event in the Star Wars universe. Because here we are, it's been 5 years, 6 years, something like that, 7 years since that happened at this point. And we're still having people affected by it. I mean, of course, it happened during the Vong War, but to hear about other characters who have dealt with something from that is really cool. And I just love how big that was for the rest of the timeline. I think even in Legacy, which takes place 100 years in the future, might have some stuff with that. And that's just really cool. So Nis, who's the assassin I mentioned, he's an Umbaran. We saw a bald person in the background of episode 3 in the opera theater when Palpatine was talking to Anakin. But he's this assassin type character. And as I said, he's able to he's a human Lisi Amari. And I find that pretty interesting because no one else seems to have that power. So I find that pretty cool. And he's a Siamese sister who's kind of just like him. And they have the same skill sets and stuff. I mean, she's not very important to the story. I just like the aspect of having two people who are essentially the same skills, and they're siblings, so they fight in unison. Luke is cool with almost everyone. So Luke has a small cameo, because there are no other Jedi in this book to help. It's just Jaden. But they have a small conversation together, Jaden and Luke. And I really appreciate it because Luke is the Grand Master, and there's hundreds of Jedi at this point, and he can still have sort of a personal relationship with all of them. When he mentioned Jaden's I don't know how I'm going to train Mar because it's going to have to be very rudimentary and basic because we're on the ship, so all we're going to have is the freighter. And Luke's the first time I trained with a lightsaber, I was on the Millennium Falcon's cargo hold or whatever. It's just like little things like that where you like can get personal stuff like that. Because Luke he's pretty cool with like everyone, as long as you're, don't become Jason and become Kitus. He's pretty cool with everyone. You can look at Kip Durin, blew up like planets, and yet here he is because he's amazing, and everyone that hates on him are wrong. And then the scene after with Jaden training Mar, which is fun to read. I always enjoy that stuff, and Mar seems to get it right away, relatively. At least the like calmness of it, which I really like. I really like the characters that Paulus Kemp wrote for these two books. I don't know if they're going to show up again, but I really like Mar and Kedron. I think they're cool side characters. What the heck? Oh, I love the Rakatan mentions. So throughout this entire book, the Rakatan Empire gets mentioned. I don't know at this point if... And Knights of the Old Republic had probably come out. I don't know if the Dawn of the Jedi comics had come out yet. But the Rakatans were a huge force in the old times of the Star Wars universe. And we'll get to that, once we get done with the post-Return of the Jedi era. But they were a powerful empire. The only things I know about them are from the Knights of the Old Republic game, because I played it. And we get snippets of their backstory there. Where they used to be at the height of power. They were all dark side users. But then a mysterious disease that seemed to come out of nowhere basically wiped out most of their race. And there's a small faction of them left on one single planet that you find in Knights of the Old Republic. But they have lots of ancient ships and stations left over. And that's what they think a station is that they find later in the unknown regions are. But it's not. I just really like that. I like still having some mystery to the expanding universe, even though so much of it has been explored. Of course, we follow one of the clones from his perspective for a big portion of the book. His name is Soldier, who we eventually found out is just a Jaden clone. And he's seemingly unaffected by the disease that affects everyone else. And he's really protective of this. So I don't believe the little girl is a clone. If I'm understanding correctly, 2 clones did the funky, and they actually have a kid. So, but I enjoy the dynamic that they have. And I enjoy Nis and Seal, the twins that, make other people's force powers dampen. I just enjoy that type of, like, caricature, I guess. And they're not, like, super deep or anything, but it was still cool. Nis goes up against a clone, the Jaden soldier. That was a fun thing to read. I don't have too much to add to that. I just still found it fun. But then, much later on, Nis's sister dies, and he's like, I'm just gonna kill everyone, and he just becomes a kind of generic, boring villain. I mean, before that, he still was, but he was more fun. I lost interest in him after he's like, I'm gonna destroy everyone. I don't know. Just didn't care for it too much. Mother was a terrifying, creepy thing. At first I thought maybe this was like our first hints of Abeloth, but I was like, that can't happen, it's too early. So I don't think it's related to Abeloth at all. I think it's just another scary, powerful thing in the unknown regions. But it definitely harkens back to the Vong, where it's like organic stuff. But the way it's described is still just really gross. And it's different enough from the Vong, I think. Because the Vong had organic stuff, but the way this is described is like everything was flesh. Everything pulsated. I don't know, it just... Ugh. And then like when you enter the place and it's littered with corpses, you don't know how old they are, but they must be ancient because they're all skeletons at this point. In like hundreds. Just layered out in the front entrance. Because Mother's been feeding. Just crazy. The Nis versus Jaden fight was pretty cool too. Again, I don't have too much to add to that. I just found it an enjoyable part of the book. And then lastly, Jaden's clone Jaden and Jaden the clone? Because they do this thing at the end where it's like, I don't know, Mara's looking at me weird, maybe I'm a clone, I don't know. It was some weird, like, something that sci-fi does sometimes, or like, leave you to decide, but I just found it kind of stupid. Like, I think that's just Jaden, he's fine, and then there's the clone with the little girl. Why not just have a happy ending? It just seemed a bit weird. I doubt we'll ever see the clones again. If we do, that would be interesting for someone else to pick up. I don't think we will. I don't even know if we'll see Jaden in Fate of the Jedi, but these two stories are fun. I definitely preferred Cross Current, especially just the surprise of having 5,000 years of a battle appear in modern day, which was cool. But overall, it was a fun little read. Lastly, we have Millennium Falcon and another couple short stories. And then we move on to the big Fate of the Jedi 9-book issue. Not issue, that's not a comic book. 9 books novel series. Fate of the Jedi. So I hope you'll join me for that. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.